All right. Welcome back, everyone. This is the Game Link podcast. I'm your host, Lebby, and as always, I'm here with my friend Elmer.
Hey,
Today it's episode 8 already.
damn.
So we're going to be talking about Super Mario Brothers movie from 1993, starring Bob Hopkins and John Leguizamo.
As I said to Lebby earlier, you do realize we're more Italian than this cast is, right?
Yeah, definitely. Um, but before we start talking about the movie, it's been 2 weeks. What have you been up to, Elmer?
uh, Working 9 to 5 for pretty much 6 days straight.
Yeah, sounds fun. No time for anything else.
Well, on top of that, what he ended up seeing is just kind of out of the blue and just kind of for fun. And we'd been thinking about it for a while. We picked up the arcade one-up midway 12 and 1 3/4 inch arcade cabinet classic set, which the cabinet is shaped like Mortal Kombat 2. And holy cow, they aren't kidding when they have the difficulty on those things turned up. Holy balls.
Yeah. You sent me a picture of it, and at first I didn't notice that it was a one-up cabinet, and I was like, "That's a really small arcade cabinet. Like, where did you get that from?" Then he said, "Oh, it's a one-up," and I was like, "Oh yeah, that makes sense."
Well, considering there's a picture of me standing next to it and the thing that comes up to my collarbone, yeah, I'm hoping it's a miniature one. Yeah, well, I
Yeah.
grew like an extra foot.
Yeah, but that's cool. I've always thought about getting one, but like I live in a kind of small space already, so like if I'm gonna get one, I might as well just get an original one, you know?
On,
And then I might as well just wait until I have more space.
on top of that, they really do say that you can kind of build whatever set you kind of want and have it actually hooked up to like your own server or whatnot, kind of like,
Oh yeah.
which I think would probably be better, but this is just all kind of in one and it's a little more accessible. So.
Yeah, about 10 years ago I actually drew up some plans to make my own arcade cabinet out of an original Xbox, which is like a bunch of games and emulators and stuff loaded on. But I never did it because it was gonna cost me like $200 plus a screen. So I just never got around to it. But I'd still love to do something like that.
I was gonna say, yeah, I'm still pining. I want to have either an original or build my own Primal Rage machine. I think that would be the best. You know, the classic stop motion animated fighting game where you play as dinosaurs beating the piss out of monkeys, as I once lovingly called it this past summer. I didn't know that with Godzilla vs Kong coming out, it is the greatest movie to ever have the Primal Rage lineage to it.
Yeah, Primal Rage should have been a badass game, but never really quite hit the mark there, did it? Yeah, let's see, what was I up to? So I I had taken a few sick days from work the last couple weeks, so I spent a lot of time like loading games onto my PS3 that's hacked, and like emulators and stuff. So I replayed through South Park: The Stick of Truth, which is funny but really raunchy. I forgot how raunchy that was.
Is it any worse than Fractured Butthole?
Um, no, it's about on par. Um, like there's a whole level like in an abortion clinic, and there's a whole like fight scene where you're like fighting on the bed as miniature versions of yourself, but like underneath your parents having sex. It's this whole just like it's funny, but it's like whoa, a couple times. And then yeah, I was messing around with my Nintendo Switch, and I finally got around to playing some games I've really been wanting to, like Metroid Doom, which is really good. Some of my viewers might know that some of my top five games is like Metroid, Final Fantasy, and Sonic. So that game is really great. And then the new Pokemon Legends Arceus, or however it's said, that game that's coming out next week, it got leaked, and so I put it on my Switch, and that game is so good. It's like, you know, when everyone says like, "Oh, you should make a Pokemon game that's like Skyrim, right, where it's open world and stuff. It's like probably the closest to that we're gonna get, where it's like a real RPG. You get quests, you have a crafting menu. It's like open world for the most part. It's really good. I really like it. So I'm gonna be playing a lot more of that.
I mean, hell, when I walked in, I had no idea about this. I look over and I just went, "Oh, did somebody do a Pokemon mod for Breath of the Wild?" Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good one. It's gonna be a good one. So I'm excited about that. Otherwise, yeah, I didn't really do much. I just tinkered around with my electronics and stuff. So, all right, let's get into it. So,
Rip this Band-Aid off.
yeah, I think the games talking about the games is gonna be easy. It's just gonna be talking about this movie that's gonna be something. But I mean, either way, it's gonna be a good time. It's really interesting stuff. So, and I wasn't sure like which game Mario game to do research on for this movie because it came out in '93 after Super Mario World, so it had like Yoshi and stuff in it. I thought maybe I should research Super Mario World, but since it's also the first Mario movie and we have this new one coming out, I figured maybe I should research the first Mario game. So I kind of did both. Um, I'm gonna talk only a little bit about each game because, much like with the movie, Mario has so much to unpack. I could talk and talk about Mario and never cover it all. So we're just gonna kind of breeze through these. um, I guess I'll start out by talking about the Nintendo Famicom. That released in 1983 in Japan, but we didn't get the NES over here until 1985. So by the time we had the NES, Mario was already a thing, and like it, every NES came with that copy of like Mario Duck Hunt, right? So for the longest time, I just thought that like Mario came out with like alongside the Nintendo and the Famicom, but it didn't. It was actually the third game that Shigeru Miyamoto finished. First, he did Excite Bike, and then he did a game called Devil World, which I've never played, but as a young kid, I loved Excite Bike. I remember like making maps with my dad and stuff like that, so that was really cool.
It was a favorite of ours too, growing up.
Yeah, that game was good. You try to play it now, and you're just like, I could be doing so much better. Oh my gosh, this whole time the lights have been off. Let me do that. There we go. Now you can see us. Sorry about that. For all you YouTube and Twitch watchers, you audio listeners, you're fine. um, so when they were designing Super Mario Brothers game, I mean, there was a Mario game, like arcade game before this, but Super Mario Brothers was the first one that was like a platformer like this. So they wanted to use like scrolling screens, like Excite Bike, how it was like a continuous like horizontal scroll. And then they wanted to use larger character sprites like they had in Devil World, which is that other game that Miyamoto made. And they wanted to do this in order to make Mario stand out from other games at the time, like other platformers. They also wanted to fit various other technologies into the game, which they compared the development of trying to integrate all these things as like putting together a puzzle. Because it was like stuff they were doing, like especially like the horizontal scrolling and stuff like that, was really, really new at the time. Hard to do, especially on like a budget hardware system like the NES. I mean, PC didn't even have sideways scrolling at that time. It would like you'd get to the edge of the screen and then it would load the next one, right? Um, it was developed at the exact same time as The Legend of Zelda was, and both games shared a lot of the same staff, like Miyamoto, and like a bunch of other designers and programmers and stuff. So, according to the developers, some aspects of Mario were taken straight from Zelda and probably vice versa. One example being like the fire bars. They were used in a dungeon in Zelda, and Miyamoto saw them and decided that he would like to use them as an obstacle in Mario.
That Yeah, no, you dropped a hint about that earlier. That makes all the
Oh,
sense.
that's not the hint I dropped.
Oh,
That's coming, buddy.
oh.
Um, so the main goal of designing Mario was to have a character that traveled through different lands or worlds that had like different themes. Like you'd have one theme, on land, and one in sea, and in caves, and in the sky, and on mushrooms and whatever. So,
Yes,
um,
this series is definitely on mushrooms. Holy cow.
yeah. Well, and the weird thing is they originally intended the character to be twice as big as it ended up in that first game. Um, like during early development, they were just using like a big square as a placeholder that was twice the size of Mario, but it was so big that they couldn't like it wouldn't jump or anything. So then they decided to like scale it back, and then they decided to let's just make it Mario from the Mario Brothers arcade game. Um, so speaking of like arcade games, most video games, like apart from stuff on Atari, but even stuff on Atari, it was a lot similar to like arcade games where it would always have like a black background and stuff. Um, but the team for Super Mario Brothers colored the background blue in some levels, which was like controversial a little bit. Well, not really controversial. It was kind of like puzzling to some people and stuff at the time because usually games had black backgrounds to avoid eye strain or like distracting with bright colors. But with the blue backgrounds in mind, they started like designing levels because it was like more scenic that way. Miyamoto wanted each level to be around a minute long to complete. And he noticed during testing that it only took about 1 second for your character to move from like one side of the screen to the other. So then, like him and the designers are thinking, okay, so 60 screens in each level, which would have been gigantic. So they added like all the obstacles and stuff to slow the player down. Which by the time they got the pattern down for these obstacles and stuff, the average time for a level or the average amount of screens for a level is only about 12. So they're they really made it work. But there is one level that has 32 screens, which is still like half of what they originally thought. But because it was the early 80s, there weren't any like level creation tools available. So what they actually had to do was like get graph paper and like draw out, design the levels pixel by pixel, and then give that to the level designers who would program it all. Which is really weird. And they even did that with like the character sprites too. And like anytime they wanted to make an edit to the design, instead of like erasing something, they just had to put like a clear film over it, draw the edit on the clear film, and then just keep doing that. So like some of these designs by the end of production was just like stacks of stacks of paper, which is really interesting. But like, man, what a pain! Like making games now is hard with all the convenient tools. Like God. Um, yeah. So it obviously Super Mario Brothers, the first one, was a great game. Pretty much everyone I know of has played it, and if they haven't played it, they've at least seen it or
Mm-hmm.
know about it. I mean, like the controls of the game are really tight and precise. It popularized the side-scrolling like platformer genre, and this game has been put on every piece of technology you can think of, from calculators to vape pens to iPods, everything. This game has been on everything.
I mean, just look at the icon that is Mario himself. I mean, he's when you think video games, 9 times out of 10, when you think of video game character, Mario is gonna be the first thing that comes to just about anybody's mind. Kind of like how when you say superhero, you're either gonna think like Superman or maybe Batman. Video games, it's always Mario.
Yeah, well, I mean, especially in like the 80s and even like past that, um, it's like anytime someone was playing a video game, they were playing a Nintendo.
Mm-hmm.
It's up to parents. It's like, oh, you're playing your Nintendo. even if it was a Sega or whatever, you know. But yeah, the release just on the NES sold 40.24 million copies. And there's even a street in Spain named after the game. Like it's literally named Super Mario Bros.
Did that translate to something else in Spanish or
No,
no?
they just really like the game. Um,
Would you think it'd be an Italian town, or are the Italians like, yeah, we're washing our hands of this?
no,
We're pulling a Pontius Pilate again. We're washing our hands of this.
And I think the funniest thing I read while researching the first game was that, yeah, here's what I was telling you earlier, or alluding to, is that Shigeru Miyamoto told the creator of Pac-Man, Toru Iwatani, that Super Mario Bros. Was strongly influenced by Pac-Land, which is hilarious because I don't know if you've ever played Pac-Land, but it is bizarre.
I thought that just came from the Pac-Man cartoon that I thought was a fever dream from when I was 6, but there was a Pac-Land video game.
Oh yeah, there's a couple of them. But it
Huh.
was like one of the pioneers of like the side scrolling like rolling background instead of
Hmm.
just screen to screen. Okay, but there's a lot more on Super Mario Brothers. But it's so popular, like I don't have time to cover everything, like I said before. But I did play a lot of it when I was really young. Like I remember sitting down with like either one of my parents, or like my mom showing me how to get like 99 lives and stuff like that. So I definitely played this game a lot. But even more, I played Super Mario World. Um, like my sisters and I, we really for most of our childhoods we only had like the NES, the Super Nintendo, and an N64. Like well after like even like the PS3 release and stuff. That's really all we had. So we played a lot of Super Mario World. Um, which I'm sure a lot of people have noticed that Super Mario World is like the favorite game of like millennials' childhoods. Like most millennials are like in love with this game.
Hmm. Hell, I didn't even own. I've never owned a Nintendo system before. Well, no, I take that back. I had a Game Boy Advance at one time,
I remember
but
that.
I never owned a Super Nintendo, which I'm kicking myself I never did. But even I played the shitload of that at friends' of mine. I was just growing up as a kid.
Yeah,
Fantastic game.
yeah, it's a great game. Um, let's make that a little brighter. So Super Mario World was directed by Takashi Tezuka, um, where Shigeru Miyamoto uh, served as a producer instead of like you know head like programmer or whatever. Um, Shigefumi Hino was the graphics designer, and they had the Nintendo Entertainment Analysis and Development Department handled the development with a team of 10 people, including three main programmers, a character designer, and then everyone else. Um,
One of my
who?
favorite. Oh, sorry, not to cut you off there,
Oh no,
but
go for it.
just go back to it for a second. One of my favorite things on the planet is hearing job titles translated from Japanese because it's just is I wouldn't say euphemistic, but it just kind of inflates the actual title a little bit. And oh, I love it. It's one of the sad things about English. Everything is just so short and blunt. I kind of wish we had kind of the same technique. Because can you say that again one more time? What was the
the
name of the division?
the Nintendo Entertainment Analysis and Development. It's like their division,
I think you could probably just call it R&D for Nintendo.
right? Um, but yeah, so they had a bunch of programmers from there, as well as a character designer. And actually, most of the people who worked on Super Mario World worked on Super Mario Brothers. The core team said that Shigeru Miyamoto wielded the most authority during the development, so he was like, kind of like the decision maker. Uh, and Super Mario World was the first Mario game on the Super Nintendo, so the team was anticipating some difficulty in working with the new hardware. And according to Tezuka, the software tools weren't fully developed yet, and the team had to just kind of like go along with making a new tool or starting something new. So they no longer had restrictions on certain mechanics, such as like the side scrolling or the number of colors they could have on the screen, because of the new hardware was so good. So as an experiment, they ported Super Mario Brothers 3 to the Super Nintendo, but it just felt like the same game to them, even though it had like better backgrounds and character sprites and stuff, um, which made Miyamoto realize that the team's goal would have to be to use the power of the new hardware to create something new, which kind of is why Yoshi was implemented. So Miyamoto said that he wanted Mario to have a dinosaur companion ever since the first Super Mario Brothers game.
Because of course, why not?
Yeah, so he always wanted him to have a dinosaur companion, but they couldn't put a Yoshi on the NES because of the hardware limitations. And the inspiration for Yoshi can be seen as early as Devil World, that game he worked on like right away. There was a green dragon designed for that game that had a lot of similarities to Yoshi. So during the development of Super Mario Bros. 3, Miyamoto had a number of sketches around his desk, including an image of Mario on a horse. So as development for Super Mario World progressed, the team kind of took these drawings that he had and opted to set the game in a dinosaur land. Um, So they took his sketches and they created Yoshi. They originally produced a design that was, quote, too reptilian and didn't really fit the Mario world. So they were encouraged to design a cuter character, and they nailed it. Yoshi is like, I always wanted a pet Yoshi when I was a kid, you know?
I was gonna say it's Japanese. I mean, isn't cute kind of that's the entirety of the market if you
Yeah,
think about
cute
it?
is everything in Japan.
Because I was gonna say, I mean, I can't really think of any kind of character in anime or anything like that. That's kind of well, actually, I can think of one, Edward.
Oh, God.
But I was gonna say, I think the Japanese, the entirety of the market is when in doubt, go chibi.
I thought you were gonna say, "When in doubt, whip it out."
Mm. No, I'm not talking about hentai, you perv.
When in doubt, fake a seizure.
Mm. You're learning well, my young Padawan.
But yeah, some of the other developers speculate that Shigeru Miyamoto's love for horse riding, as well as his love for country and western themes, really influenced Yoshi's creation.
Oh God, I'm just imagining Miyamoto sitting there typing or doing design work while listening to Garth Brooks or something like that.
Howdy, cowboy.
Oh God, now I'm just trying to imagine what Japanese country music sounds like. Ugh.
Oh God, don't. Speaking of music, the music famously was done by Koji Kondo, who wanted similar themes to Super Mario Bros. 3, which he also did the music for. So what he ended up doing, he basically just rearranged a bunch of the music from Super Mario Bros. 3, and I mean, I think he nailed it. This soundtrack, maybe it's because I played it a lot when I was a kid, but it's like burned into my brain forever. I will never forget this soundtrack. But by doing this, he assumed that players would be able to recognize the same melodies, while also exposing them to new variations of music as they progress through the game. Since it was the first game they developed for the Super Nintendo, Koji Kondo felt overjoyed at being able to compose music using 8 sounds at once instead of just, I think, 5 the NES had, which 2 were just noise channels, which is just like white noise. So it was really limited. But Super Nintendo could do 8 wave sounds, like sound samples. To express the technological novelty of the new hardware, he used several different instruments and implemented them all one right after the other in like the title music. And as development progressed, he kind of got concerned over how people would react to the unusual combinations of instruments. As he noted, some of the more traditional like square waves, triangle waves, like that 8-bit sound that people were used to at the time, it had really just kind of gained acceptance. So going to like a more realistic, like almost MIDI type sound. He was worried if they would like it or not. But I mean, I think it really worked out. For the sound effects, he used a variety of musical instruments, um, like like tambourines and stuff, as opposed to just like square waves, white noise, triangle waves, whatever. Um, it took Kondo around a year and a half to write all the music for the game, which is pretty good, I think. Especially composing music for a game console back then. Uh, like I've shown you how I've made music on the Game Boys, and it was pretty much this like a really similar thing. They just have to like code it all in like hexadecimal or something, which is nuts. It takes forever.
I mean, let's put it this way. I can't even imagine composing just music in general, but now trying to do it by knowing the tones made by different circuits firing on a certain level that you're able
Yeah,
to do on a cartridge like that.
yeah. To write like hardware code for a piece of hardware to like make a certain frequency of sound, like it's a whole nother level to music. It's crazy. Um,
My head's about the scanners right now, just trying to imagine any of this. But then again, you know me, I know nothing about programming electronics.
Well, it was a little easier for the Super Nintendo because you could use sound samples. So you could just like load a library of instruments in, and then it would basically just like pitch them up or down or whatever to however you needed it. So it was a little easier, but still complicated. Um, but yeah, the release of Super Mario World was in the middle of the console wars. So this was right after Sega had like really become a threat to Nintendo,
Sega does what Nintendo don't.
and Sonic was seen as the cooler alternative to Mario, or to Mario. And because of this, Miyamoto wanted to release the game like quickly so like they could get a leg up on Sega. Um, which I mean, obviously they ended up doing, but Miyamoto admitted that the game was rushed towards the end of development. But like honestly, I never noticed any problems with the game. They did a really good job, even if they were rushed. I mean, it's just like a solid game, and I love it.
I
What?
just realized if we ever wanted to cover Super Mario Brothers 3, we just watched The Wizard.
Yeah. Speaking of the wizard, I think that's what I pitched to Thor
Ooh.
for an episode we're gonna do on Thor's Hour of Thunder. Possibly within the next month here or so, I think is when we were planning. I don't know. We'll get back to you on the details, but
Hmm.
um, yeah, I think we'll be talking about the wizard on his podcast.
Excellent.
Yeah. But that's all I got for the games. Like I said, there's so much more, but if you're really interested in finding out about the Mario games, like you can easily find like mountains of developer interviews and stories and everything like that. Do you have your phone on, Elmer?
I thought I had it put on silent.
How
I did not.
rude. You're over here texting bitches while I'm trying to do my job.
No one bitch is texting me in particular, but you are correct, sir.
Um, but yeah, anyway. Yeah, that's what I got on the game.
Well, thank you. That was very refreshing. That was enlightening. And no, if anything, it helped to show of one of the greatest successes in advertising as well as game design history. You know, you would we really think of video games today without the advent that was the Super Mario Brothers in terms of just the simplicity of the appearance of Mario, smoothness of the gameplay, as well as just being able to traverse the screen in so many different
I
aspects.
mean, and maybe it's also partly due to how available and affordable Nintendo made their consoles and stuff, but like this was at a time when like video games were dead for the most part,
Thanks,
especially home video games.
thanks, Game Crash. What was it, 83?
No, it was, well, maybe I can't remember, but it was like, yeah, in your late 70s or early 80s.
But no, it feels good to hear about something that was successful and it helped change the world for the better. It's rereading the information I needed to for this movie. Oh dear God. It's like War and Peace almost, and I wish I was kidding when I said that. So, going into this episode, I've done a lot, or I'd heard a lot about just the production horrors that was this movie. And dear God, even just rereading up on some of the information that's just come out after the fact, after both Dennis Hopper and Bob Hoskins have now passed away, and just some more info coming out and getting further and further away. Oh dear God, man, this movie. Oh, this movie.
Yeah, I remember. So I think the first time I saw it wasn't until like 2008 or 2009, and oh man, I'm just so glad I didn't see it when I was a kid.
I saw it when I was about 4 or 5, and oh boy. So kind of the production behind this movie is really interesting. So there's this British director and producer who's worked on everything from Shakespearean plays, different things off of the West End of London. The guy's name is Roland Joffe. His first film actually was a Academy Award winning for Best Picture of 1984, The Killing Fields. Really good movie. Really good. It's about the horrors of Cambodian genocide and stuff like that.
Oh, great.
So how that lines up with Super Mario Brothers then is that he was then able to set up his own production company out of that and finance basically whatever movie he had. How that relates to Nintendo is Nintendo started thinking to themselves towards the early 90s, we've got Mario video games, we've got Mario toys, Mario clothing, we've got a Mario cartoon series. What if we did a Mario film?
Great.
And so they thought to themselves, do we want to produce this in-house here in Japan, or do we want to try, just give it a shot and throw it over to the Americans? And this is an actual quote from them.
Stupid Americans.
They didn't think that. They thought that it would translate better into other foreign markets if it was actually American influence for the film. But the big kicker is that they said they didn't care how far away it got from the original game, because they figured Mario's a recognizable brand enough as is that what's the worst that could happen?
This.
So the guy who did the movie about Pol Pot's pretty much genocide produced this film. And now when you're doing a movie about Super Mario, who is your first choice to write the script?
Spielberg.
That actually would have been better than their first choice.
Of course it would have. It's Spielberg.
They hired screenwriter, recently Academy Award winning screenwriter Barry Moreau from Minnesota here, actually. Oh dear God. Who had won an Academy Award for the screenplay for Rain Man.
Oh no.
To write the script for this film. The producers took one look at it, and Joffe said, hey, I like it. What does everyone else think? And everyone else said, it's too much like Rain Man.
Go figure.
So now I'm trying to figure out which one was the Dustin Hoffman character. Which is another kicker, because one of the people that was offered the part was Dustin Hoffman to play Mario.
Of course.
Jewish Mario.
Well, who else were we talking for alternate castings that we could do? Was it like Sylvester Stallone?
I said that in confidence to you, hoping you weren't going to repeat that. That was actually a We Hate Movies bit.
Oh, was it?
I was hoping you weren't going to bring that up.
Well, that's okay. It was hilarious.
But who actually were considered, most famously, Danny DeVito was basically, they told him, Danny, you can do a player pay for this, and we also want you to direct it. And Danny DeVito took one look at it and said, fuck you, and walked away. The other one who was offered to second, which I kind of wish happened, was Cheech Marin.
Oh God.
I kind of want it though.
I mean, it would have been better than John Leguizamo. Oh,
No.
for Mario?
Mario was gonna be Cheech Marin was gonna be Mario.
No way.
Oh come on, that would have been great. However, the first choice for Luigi was Tom Hanks.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say Tommy Chong, and I
Oh,
was like, to have Cheech and Chong.
oh god, now I wish we had Cheech and Chong's Ready Player One. But no, Tom Hanks was the original choice for Luigi. But then the producers of this went, oh, Turner and Hooch, The Burbs, and what was the other one that came out around this time? Not The Money Pit, one of the other ones. But they looked at it. Tom Hanks, they're like, oh, he's not a bankable star anymore. This movie came out in 1993. What was the highest grossing film in 1994?
Forrest Gump.
Forrest Gump.
Forrest Gump.
So, yep, that really... They probably kicked on themselves right there. But then again, would Hanks have gotten Forrest Gump had he played Luigi?
Probably not. Because what else was John Leguizamo in after this?
Oh. Well, Tu On Fu, Thanks for Everything, Julie Newmar right after this. And then he did Spawn as Clown. And then he was the Pest. And then famously he was Kid the Sloth.
Oh, shit, the sauce. That's right.
But-
Okay, so he did all right.
But can you imagine had Tom Hanks and John Leguizamo's careers swapped?
If John Leguizamo-
Forrest Gump.
That'd be hilarious.
Hi, I'm Luigi Mario. My name is Luigi Mario. I mean, had they gone with the original Moreau script, but to kind of go back to it, so the original pitch that they did for it was to have it be a lot more fantasy based and actually kind of have it follow the games really closely.
Which would have been better.
And then, as you said, Super Mario World came out where you actually went between parallel worlds. And then someone had the idea, well, what if we had them go to another dimension that also has dinosaurs in it? That has our dinosaurs. And they're like, okay, how are we going to do this then? And for some strange reason, Jaffe said, oh, hey, let's hire the husband and wife team that created Max Headroom. The heady, very British, very adult, very just esoteric sci-fi series about dystopia and like evil corporations
Yeah, that
running the
makes
world.
sense. It makes sense.
Let's hire them to make Blade Runner, but with Mario.
That is a very good way to describe it. Mario Runner.
Mario Runner. I mean, dear God, we didn't realize till about quarter of the way through this when, or at least I didn't, well, probably about a third of the way through this, all of a sudden I realized, wait, Mario driving a cop car and slamming into shit? This is a Mario Kart
Mario Kart reference?
This is Mario Kart by way of, like, Lethal Weapon almost.
It could have been. It could have been a Mario Kart reference.
But famously, so when they actually offered it to Hoskins, they had to offer to him, like, 8 times, each time rewriting it, and each time he'd get to be like, this sucks! This sucks! Because he basically went, look, I already did Roger Rabbit. I don't want to be pigeon-toed as a kitty freaking actor. Which, funnily enough, Bob Hoskins, his son, who was young at the time when this movie was made and saw it and thought it was amazing, to this day says, he goes, you know what? It may be rose-tinted glasses, but man, I kind of love seeing my dad in this movie.
Well, that's endearing.
Which notably, after his father passed away, it was either late 2014 or late 2015. You know, you can kind of see where he's coming from with that.
Yeah.
Which, speaking of which, so the casting of Dennis Hopper, oh boy.
Oh boy.
The top 3 choices to play King Koopa in this: Arnold Schwarzenegger, Tim Curry, and Kevin Costner.
What?
My boat. Marion! Catch!
Oh God. Why does every 90s dad love Kevin Costner?
I don't know.
I don't get it, dude.
But I kind of do too. I kind of always have. There's something somewhat endearing about him.
It's a comfortable kind of lazy style of acting that just kind of you warm up to a little bit, you know?
Which makes sense considering his first film was a stoner beach movie produced by Troma. And I'm not kidding when I say that.
It's hilarious.
But yes, Kevin Costner is King Koopa.
Ugh, terrible.
I'm the postman. I'm a T-Rex. Uh, but with that, then with the casting on Dennis Hopper, actually, Hopper didn't, or he didn't even know, or was it Hoskins? It was either Hoskins or Hopper. Didn't know it was a video game movie until they said it. Their kid asked, "What are you going to be working in?" And he goes, "Oh, I'm going to be playing a character named Mario that's going to be fighting dinosaurs." And they're like, "You're going to be in the Super Mario movie?" What? But great quote I read. Dennis Hopper explained why he did the film, and I'm gonna apologize now, but you can only read a Dennis Hopper quote by doing a Dennis Hopper.
Oh, boy.
I made a picture called Super Mario Bros. And my 6-year-old son at the time, he's 18, or he's now 18, he said, "Dad, I think you're probably a pretty good actor, but why do you play that terrible guy King Koopa in Super Mario Bros.?" And I said, "Well, Henry, I did that so you could have shoes." And he said, "Dad, I don't need shoes that badly, man." Yeah.
Ugh.
But from what it sounds like for production on this film, because they had the guy who actually was the production designer for Blade Runner
Hmm.
come in and actually dress the sets and build everything for it.
Makes sense.
The person who shot Blade Runner, actually filmed on this, and then they got fired.
Like the cinematographer?
Director of photography.
Okay.
They got fired, so then they brought in a different person who also worked on Blade Runner. And 3/4 of the way through production, they then turned to the director and said, "I wish I wouldn't have taken this job."
Yeah.
Because what happened was, famously,
Oh boy.
Rocky Morton and Abigail Jankel were notorious control freaks and they wouldn't talk to each other until they were on set, and then they would get into arguments about why something didn't work. Things were being rewritten on the day, and one of the best stories to come out of this is the fact that Leguizamo and Bob Hoskins would just literally kick back on the set, drink rum, and just not care.
Well, like you can tell, like especially in that one scene, like in the beginning, where John Leguizamo is driving the van to their like plumbing job. He is so drunk, like his speech is slurring and stuff.
In that scene, actually, when they're getting out and Luigi goes and slams the door, Leguizamo accidentally broke at least 2 of Hoskins' fingers on his right hand
Oh, I
by
heard about
slamming
this.
it in the door. So for most of the movie, Hoskins is wearing like a big bandage that's painted pink on his hand, so that way you won't notice it. But yeah, apparently but apparently all that happened was Hoskins started cussing and swearing and just grunting and incomprehensibly, and then he turned at Leguizamo, who's going, "I'm so sorry." It's like, nah, it's okay. Just kept rolling with it.
Yep.
But
Yeah, you can tell. You could tell, and they were like that throughout the whole movie. Like I remember a documentary I watched about this, probably about 10 years ago. Like was talking about how they would just like roll up reeking of booze.
what's even crazier then is, it was produced by Joffe's company, which was kind of like a European self-finance group, just because of the clout that he had within the British film system and whatnot. So then for distribution rights, they talked to Hollywood Pictures, who is a subsidiary of Disney. Michael Eisner has greasy little fingers in this movie, and let's just say he's the one who made them do a lot of cuts to it, because apparently the script everybody signed on for was a lot more adult. A lot more adult. Which, when I pointed out in the police station sequence where there is a
Yep.
police officer dominatrix stroking with her high-heeled shoe this cop's ear, oh boy.
And they cropped it in such a way which all you can see is like the shoe,
Just wiggling, just kind of looked like it's trying to give her a wet
but
willy
you
or something
can't
like that.
see the person. But yeah, that's something I never really noticed until you pointed that out.
And then they have one cutaway shot, and there you see her, and you can tell that that was not a comfortable pose nor a comfortable costume and was meant to be seen a little more up close and center. But Disney execs went, "Oh hell no!"
Yeah, that might have been a good decision, though.
I don't need sex in my Mario Brothers movie.
Yeah, no, thank you.
And what did we
We
get in
have
this
enough of
movie?
that on the internet.
Oh,
Thanks, Tumblr.
I was gonna say thanks for putting the D in DeviantArt, guys. But so because of that, Jankel and Morton were just furious with production, and they basically sort of self-sabotaged their own film to the point that people were like leaving the set at all times, saying, "You know what, this movie's done. We can't keep going." Dropping out left, right, and center. So finally, their own agent told them, "Guys, you need to leave."
Good.
So they left, and when the day they quit, apparently all the rest of the cast and crew were standing outside their office or their trailer or whatnot, clapped as they left. They were so mad at them.
Good.
But so from a lot of sources, Roland Joffe himself came in and kind of ghost directed the rest of the film, which is why he's somewhat so defensive out of it. And it's just like, oh, Roland, how did you go from being a best picture and best director to Super Mario Brothers?
Oh, God.
Going a little bit of production design as well. Simultaneously, while this was being the puppets for this were being built, especially Yoshi right across the street, Patrick Tatopoulos was the guy who shepherded the film. He's for anybody on here who ever watched Face Off back in the day.
Oh,
he was the French guy, French judge on that. He was actually the guy who built Godzilla for the 1998 Godzilla.
Oh.
He did Stargate, The Cave. He was the head special effects guy for the Underworld movies. So he's got
I forgot about those movies too. Whew.
The movie's not great, but the actual creature design in that I think is really fantastic. Yeah. Tatopoulos has a really cool sort of organic design whenever he does his movies that you're like, I've never seen that before. Never thought I would see anything like that, which works here. I'm gonna say, a lot of the stuff in this looks nothing like from the video games. Like,
not at all.
Of all the ideas you could have, why would you reverse the anatomy of the Koopas and the Goombas? Because a Goomba is famously big head, little body. It's big body, little head. And it's like, wait, what?
Yeah, it's bad.
But at the same time, the puppets that they actually have for the heads, that when they're looking around and they're kind of talking.
Yeah, the puppeteering. I mean, like it looks great. I mean, as a prop, not as a Goomba.
No. Like I said to you earlier, this movie definitely has a lot of ideas. The problem is none of the ideas make for a good Mario movie.
Right.
But on top of that, they also had the Yoshi puppet, which is probably one of the most famous things from this movie because it is really good. It both looks reptilian simultaneously, but it also is extremely cute, and it's stylized enough that you're like, okay, I could actually see that being a realistic Yoshi.
It's realistic, but yeah, also cute. And like the animatronics, I can't remember what I heard, like how much it cost, but I remember hearing it costing like something like millions.
I can't remember the exact number either. It's somewhere between like $1.5 to like $3 million just for that one puppet. It had like 9 puppeteers working on it to get it to walk. While they were so I kind of cut myself off earlier. So at Tatopoulos, who was on one side of the street, across the street was Stan Winston Studios, the guys who were working on Jurassic Park at the time. And the guys would take lunch breaks and go over to the Tatopoulos Studios to look at the Yoshi puppet. And it's funny because in actuality, or at least in my opinion, the Yoshi puppet looks better than the T-Rex baby from Lost World.
Oh yeah,
leaps and bounds.
Yeah,
I mean that thing looks like something from Rainforest Cafe or something. You should be taking my order. Table for 6.
You hear some like crackling prepubescent voice come over like,
Oh,
Yeah. Can I take your order?
sorry, ma'am. The McGangbang's on the McDonald's menu, not this one.
uh yeah, no, that puppet was awesome, but it's like it didn't even really like play a part in the movie.
Yeah, if anything, I was gonna make the joke of that. Well, potentially, maybe they're trying to set him up for the sequel.
Yeah, probably.
Which, oh, the sequel setup, which we will get to. Oh,
Oh boy.
beautiful. Um, but yeah, no, sadly, just they have so many different ideas in this. Like the bomb. What the hell is wrong with you?
The only thing that looked like something from the game was the
And it
baba.
looked completely awful. It looks like a little toy you get out of a cereal box.
Yeah, no, like you could tell it was like just like cheap plastic or like plaster molding on like put onto like an already existing wind up toy and then like a little like firecracker stuck on top.
What? Huh?
And it was about like the size of a baseball. Just such a weird choice.
Uh, and just about everything else in this. I mean, famously, you've got the poster up right there. That's more. That is literally what they're wearing in the game. None of that actually screams Mario Brothers to me.
No.
Let's put it this way. What are the two things you know about the Mario Brothers? One, they're Italian,
Red and green.
which neither of these guys are. And two, red and green. One's red, one's green.
Yeah.
Throughout the entire 90% of the movie.
The poster, they're both wearing blue jumpsuits.
Exactly. But yeah, no, for most of the movie, they're running around Koopa Land or whatever it's called, and Mario, the only red he's wearing is on the lapels of his
coat,
tan
yeah.
jacket, who in most lighting looks green, and then Luigi's running around wearing like either purple or like maroon. It looks like
Yeah.
he's wearing a Gophers jersey or something.
Yeah, and it's like until like the last quarter of the movie when they get into their red and green jumpsuits. But then they're in red and green jumpsuits. They're not even in overalls.
Exactly. It's like, what, give me some overalls. And also, come on, guys. How hard is it to slap a goddamn mustache on John Leguizamo?
Or make him grow one. I'm sure he could grow a mustache.
You've seen the John Wick movies. You know he can't.
Yeah, you're right.
I can grow a better mustache than he can. And y'all can see the evidence of that right here. I can grow a better mustache than he can. But as I was joking with you earlier, someone needs to go into this and do like a George Lucas special edition on this movie. Just slap a CGI mustache on Leguizamo. Do a reverse Henry Cavill in what do you call it? Justice League. So instead of removing the mustache, that's what they should do. Go into the raw footage, take his mustache and put it on Leguizamo for this movie. It's like not even lining up when it's moving when he's talking.
Yeah, it was. There were definitely a lot of weird choices made along the way of the production of this movie.
It's just why? Just why?
Oh man.
It I just why? But
So
I guess the biggest question is, before we kind of finish up there, because of thinking about they made all the wrong decisions for a Mario movie. But here's the question though. While it's not a good Super Mario movie, is it at
No.
all a redeemable or good movie?
No.
There I'm gonna fight you.
Really? I think it was too like disconnected from itself, which by that I mean it's one of those movies, like many of the movies we watch on this podcast, where the sequence of events doesn't really seem to matter for the most part. Like things could be swapped around, things could be completely removed, and it wouldn't make a difference to the plot.
Oh, like Mojo Nixon.
Yeah, as far as production and wow factor, yes, great job. As far as a coherent piece of art, I might fight you on that one.
The closest thing you could say about this film being art is that it definitely puts the art in artificial.
More like fartificial.
Yeah, no, you watch this movie and you're just like, nah, you can tell this is based out. This is like the dark version of something, and you're just like, nah, there's too much little snide references here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah, it was weird.
It's a movie. It's definitely a movie.
Yeah, and normally we kind of go through the beats of the movie, which I mean we can do here, but it's really uneventful in a way. Like, I don't know, they're plumbers in Brooklyn. They have a competing plumber company that fucks with them. They While fixing some leak, they find some piece of meteorite and get transferred to this other dimension where King Koopa rules everything. And then they get captured, and pretty much the rest of the movie is them escaping or trying to get away from King Koopa and find the piece of the meteorite and having gunfights and car chases and a bunch of stuff that doesn't matter.
And just if you've never seen the film, just imagine this: what he's describing. And we keep saying Mario and Bowser and Luigi and stuff like that, Daisy occasionally, Yoshi. You're probably thinking to yourself, "Oh, it might look just kind of a little like the game." Let's put it this way: it looks like if the show Dinosaurs uh, decided to have a Blade Runner episode, is what this it looks like.
So, like, at one point, like, everyone in this movie is wearing some sort of gimp costume or leather or like a collar with spikes. Everyone has like half of their half of their head shaved, or like a mohawk or some really weird, like, it's like someone like the art department's, like, or whoever was the head of design of the world, it was like their 80s movie wet dream. Just very odd, and for like dark and like dingy for a Mario movie.
The best way to describe the art department for this, it's like somebody snorted cocaine off of a VHS copy of Denver the Last Dinosaur.
Denver, the last dinosaur.
I'm sure if you actually remember that theme song.
Oh, I remember that theme song.
Yeah, no, it just you're one thing's for sure. When Nintendo said they went into it just saying, no matter what happens, we're gonna come out all right. That was probably the right mindset. And
I
apparently,
mean, they did.
And Roland Jaffe, that's one thing he said. He says, he went, you know what? Working with Nintendo is pretty good. They basically just told us, don't screw it up, and go for it. Do something different and interesting. So you got to give them that.
Well, and I will give the movie this. Whether you think it's good or bad, it is fun.
Oh dear God,
it is fun.
Every other moment, you're like, wait, what? What?
You're either going, what the fuck did they do? What the fuck is that? What is going on? Or just like, okay, that's kind of neat.
There's a scene that involves the great character actor Dennis Hopper submerged naked in a mud bath next to the great Scottish lesbian comedian Fiona Shaw, aka the aunt from the Harry Potter films, amongst many other great comedic roles, sitting naked in a mud bath while holding a corn snake, and both of them are both flirting and then talking about world domination at the same time. I don't know what movie this is, but I'm glad this exists.
There are parts of it that are pretty cool. But yeah, of course, with it being Mario, eventually they defeat, King Koopa and save the day and go back to Brooklyn and whatever. It all works out.
And then the last scene happens where the door gets kicked in and Princess Daisy walks in holding a flamethrower and goes, Mario, Luigi, you're not going to believe this. And Mario goes, oh, I believe it. Grabs his stuff and goes ready to go kick some ass. And all I can say is that might be potentially the most embarrassing kind of.
Just set up for a sequel before.
I was gonna say like hopeful, like
Very hopeful.
that's like wishing on a miracle, man.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't even think of how just full of empty promise that idea was.
So I guess that brings me to my final question, Elmer.
Mhm.
Was this a bop or a flop? Or was it both, and why?
As an adaptation of Super Mario Brothers, it is a flop,
For sure.
both critically and financially and cinematically. On every level, this movie is a terrible adaptation of Super Mario Brothers, and for good reason. Was it that it killed the concept of making a video game movie ever again? I mean, to this day, they call that video game movies have a curse attached to them.
Because
Considering when the really good ones are all the ones we've talked about so far on this series, minus maybe say Detective Pikachu.
Yeah, maybe even like Final Fantasy Kingsglaive. That's going to be a good one.
Sure,
But
but being able to count it on one hand how many actually classic video game movies there are, and
many
they
good
still.
ones, yeah.
And whenever a new video game movie comes out, they always go, "Is it gonna be another Super Mario Brothers?" It, yeah, no, it's not good. However, by itself, completely detached from the inspiration that was the movie, the video game that inspired it, I'm gonna call it a bop. I'm gonna I'm gonna go with what you said. It can be both at once. I was just thinking about how I'm gonna set up and pay off that little combo there.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree that um, if you're looking for an experience, like you want to detach from reality a little bit, experience a movie, flop. As far as, yeah, a video game adaptation, flop. But because this movie is fun to watch, and just knowing a lot about what went into making the movie, I do really enjoy it. So I'm gonna say it's a bop. But just be warned, it's not great.
2 words to completely set you up and know exactly what you're getting into. 2 words: Mojo Nixon.
He's the one that played Toad. Yeah,
Oh,
terrible casting choice.
2 other words: Fisher Stevens.
Oh yeah, the dollar store Polly Shore.
And again, at least it wasn't in brownface this time, pretending to be Indian. Which, if
Yeah.
anything, that guy's more Italian than Bob Hoskins.
And John Leguizamo. Yeah, but I agree. I think that's a good verdict.
Just to go back to our little buddy Mojo there, who keeps shitting on, but it's just funny because I mean his stage name is Mojo Nixon. But apparently, for an interview that said, according to Mojo Nixon, he was cast in the role of Toad because the production wanted an actual musician for the character, but their first choice, Tom Waits, was unavailable. Nixon's agent pitched him to casting as a third-rate Tom Waits for half the price.
He's self-aware.
Yeah, he's self-aware. Yeah, no, that made me laugh pretty hard when I read that. Oh.
Oh, that's awesome.
Although, can you imagine if actually would have been Tom Waits in this? Just got that big stone face like Ron Perlman. It sounds like this the entire movie.
It probably would have been a good fit. Yeah.
Hey, I'm Toad. Sorry, Mario, your princess is in another castle.
Yeah, that'd be closer. But yeah, let's tell you guys where to find us if you don't know already. We stream this on Twitch every Sunday. Well, almost every Sunday.
Try to. Sorry, guys.
Twitch.tv/Lebby, Lebbi. If you want to ask us questions, you can stick around for the Q&A after the podcast that we do. Or if you just want to talk to us, come check us out there. Otherwise, you can find us on YouTube, which will have a link in all our description stuff. We don't have enough subscribers yet to have our own URL. But yeah, you can email questions to thegamelinkpod@gmail.com, or you can support us on Patreon at patreon.com/gamelink.
And if we get enough requests from it, as pretty much as fun as we had last week being in costume, if you guys actually like it enough, we'll try to be in costume for every episode.
Yeah.
I was hoping that somewhere you'd still have that old Mario and Luigi costume from high school, so we could try to squeeze our grown asses in those
And
things.
the thing is, especially clothes I had in high school, there's no way I'm getting in them anymore. No way. But yeah, come check us out. We'd love to see you. As far as the audio versions, you can find us on Anchor FM. So anchor.fm/game-link. So there's a hyphen in there. But yeah, we hope you come check us out. And yeah, I guess that's all. We'll see you next week. Wait, did we ever talk about what we're doing next time?
Shit, we didn't.
You want to just do like a Resident Evil, or you want to do something more like House of the Dead, or
If anything, I think we should try to go chronological. Oh, lordy.
oh no.
This is like Pat said a kidney stone, just getting it ready. Yeah, no,
Oh,
let's just get the first Resident Evil out of the way because up next, 2 for 2 probably. Do that followed by House of the Dead.
All right, you heard it here, folks.
Ooh, this is gonna hurt.
Next week we're doing Resident Evil.
It's like pulling out a set of Benoit balls.
This is gonna be painful. All right. Well, we'll see you all next week. Stick around for the Q&A. And have a good one.
Stay safe, stay sexy, folks.